Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our NXT review. Now, this was our go-home episode of NXT before NXT TakeOver Toronto this Saturday. And I gotta say, this is how you do a go-home show. It wasn't committed to being a full-fledged standard episode of NXT, but we did get 3 matches, one of them being a really fun main event that I'm excited to talk about with Ashton here. And the video packages that they had to hype up TakeOver, I thought were supremely well done. My 2 favorites being the one for the NXT Tag Team Championship match and Dillinger Rude. I thought both were emotional, incredibly poignant, and they got me amped up even more than I already was for TakeOver Toronto, which is saying something. This felt like just a perfect go-home show to me. It knew where its efforts were supposed to be. It concerted all of its efforts in that direction. And in my mind, they succeeded. And they didn't even have to, use the talents needlessly that were involved in the matches. Their video packages sold us on everything. And yeah, I really like this episode for that purpose. Partner, what do you think of tonight's episode of NXT?
Yeah, and you know what, dude? The video packages were amazing, and we'll probably talk more about those tomorrow, but we're going to avoid talking about them tonight because they were really more focused on hyping up Toronto than actually producing new content. And the new content is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we had 3 matches and an interview that we're going to be talking about tonight. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter review because of that. But that being said, you are absolutely right. This was a great go-home show. They did a great job of hyping up, I'd say 4 or 5 matches that are going to be taking place on Saturday on NXT TakeOver Toronto. And I would also add that they created a match, I believe, that should happen on NXT TakeOver Toronto, if not, in the following weeks leading up afterwards. So that being said, you want to get right into our review?
Yeah, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I do have a nitpick, and I just want to get this out of the way very quickly. And it's funny because you and I were even talking about this, and you looked at it positively, which I commend you for, but it still got on my nerves when Corey Graves reverted to bad-mouthing Elias Samson. I should have expected it, but you know what? I think why it stings is because Corey Graves had a setup. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was close to this, so just bear with me. He's like, Phillips, February 6, 1959, that's the day that they say music died. Well, Elias Samson, he dug up the corpse. I thought he was going to say like something along the lines of like he revived it or he brought it back and, finally turn over a new leaf with Samson.
That's what I was saying too, dude. And then he said, and he desecrated it.
And he desecrated him. And I'm like, God damn it, Corey, do your fucking job. I love Corey Graves, and I still think he's one of the best commentators that WWE has right now. But like, why? I mean, then again, maybe there is precedent, because I know Jerry Lawler never liked Bret Hart. I don't think that changed when Bret Hart was heel. Maybe heels just have people they don't like ever, and maybe that's just Elias Samson for Corey Graves, so maybe I should just let it go, and I'm the one with the problem now. But it still rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, that was such a great setup, and then you use it to piss on him. And I personally am glad Elias Samson's back, but we'll get more into that when we hit upon that segment in our formal review. So that was my nitpick, just to make it brief. Ashton, do you have any Heats tonight or nitpicks you want to go over?
I can definitely sign on to your nitpick. I was going to bring something up about that when it was happening. I wasn't planning on having it be a Heat of the Night or a nitpick, but if it bothered you to that degree, I can definitely sign on, because it did bother me as well. And I had the exact same thought as you. I thought he was going to say something about how Elias, revived music on his own, standing around with his guitar. And no, he desecrated it. Okay, it's good to know we're back to the status quo, Corey. That's great.
And Corey, like, if he had turned over a new leaf, I could just picture that banter had he gone that way, because Tom Phillips would have been like, oh, well, what changed your tune? I'll have you know, Phillips, that Elias Samson now dominates my Spotify account, or just something like that in his snarky Corey Graves way. And it would have been great. But no, fuck passion for possibility, right? But anyway, let us get right into our NXT review. And partner, since you said we're going to focus purely on content tonight, and not any of the hype or anything, because we'll address that in our preview predictions, which I can't wait to do for both shows this week. Then the first thing we're going to...
As far as the preview predictions go, I thought we would do that at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow so we can get our UK folks in here.
Absolutely. Hey, it's not a preview predictions unless we have the UK fans a part of it. We freaking love you guys. So 8 p.m. sounds great to me. But our first match that we're going to give coverage to here, Liv Morgan versus Peyton Royce. What did you think of this match?
I thought this was a solid match. There wasn't really an ending because, it was pretty cool, though. Here's something that I actually wanted to point out. I like that NXT is sort of explicitly saying Liv Morgan is more credible than Aliyah. And the way that they did that was Aliyah needed Liv Morgan's assistance / distraction in order to beat Billie Kay. And even then it was treated like a fluke, right?
Right.
Aliyah didn't come out to help Liv until after this match was over. And Liv, even despite an attempted distraction from the match in hand, Peyton Royce was locked in a guillotine and most likely was going to tap out before Billie Kay broke it up and caused a disqualification. So you could say that Aliyah needed Liv's help in order to get a fluky win over Peyton Royce, while Liv had Peyton, or actually I think Aliyah won over Billie Kay. I got this mixed up. But Liv had her match with Peyton Royce well at hand, even despite interference from Billie Kay and no help on her own part.
I think that's an excellent point you make. I think this match and the post-match segment really served to illustrate a hierarchy with this new women's division. And yeah, I think that's an excellent point you make, partner. I enjoyed the match. I like the fire from Liv, which I think is appropriate progression given, one, how Asuka dominated her, and two, the subsequent bullying and teasing that Liv had to face because of being the victim of such dominance by Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. So it was great to see that fire from her. On another note, too, because I know we just talked about Aliyah more like being below Liv Morgan, but to Aliyah's credit, even though it was a small pocket of the crowd, people wanted to see her make the save. And if you're Aliyah, that's got to feel really good. And she got a nice pop when she did come out and make the save. I think she's slowly making progress. And it's nice to talk about NXT like this, because you and I, the big thing when you and I review NXT, we want to see everybody succeed, and we want to see everybody have moments. And I'm not going to make a production out of it. It wasn't the whole arena, but just the idea that even a small pocket of people wanted to see her, that is progress. I think about when I used to collect wrestling books, and one of them was The Rise and Fall of ECW, and Paul Heyman invited Tommy Dreamer to their production room because he was just getting booed all the time at the time. And Paul Heyman pointed out to him, hey, that one fan wanted to see you because I think it was like a pro Dreamer sign or something. And he said, that's where it starts. Well, for Aliyah, I feel like she really finally got her start tonight because I think people are starting to warm up to her, and that's great. And I hope she carries that babyface momentum all the way. But as great as Aliyah is, she got taken out, Liv got taken out, but who makes the save? Ember freaking Moon, my personal favorite in the division right now. She comes in and she cleans house. But what I like about this segment too, they don't monopolize the spotlight on Ember. They could very easily do that. But I love the little moment where she looks at Liv, and then they both look back at their opposition, and they do a double drop kick both to Billie and Peyton. This whole thing made everybody from the heels to the struggling baby faces seem important. And I'm so glad that people like Aliyah, who really are just finally starting to climb up the rungs, painstakingly, but they're making the climb, and people like Ember Moon, who have all the upside in the world but have seemed directionless for a little bit, they both get something to do, and it keeps Liv in the fold, and you've still got two amazing heels in Billie and Peyton. So I'm very happy about all this.
Exactly, yeah. And Billie and Peyton, they did look kind of weak, but I don't really think they lost any credibility because even though Peyton was probably in a predicament where she would have lost to Liv Morgan, she didn't. I know that it seemed like she was going to, but she was in that guillotine for quite a while, and she didn't tap out. She didn't even have her hand held up like she was going to tap out. So maybe she had it in hand, and we just don't know about it, and we'll never know.
Right. And I have to commend commentary here. I know I just took the piss out of Corey Graves, one segment prior, but I think they tried to make...
Graves is an awesome commentator. everyone but Elias Samson. For some reason, he just can't get over his hang-up with Elias Samson.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, both him and Phillips chimed in and they said, particularly Graves, he was very vocal about it, that the faces had the numbers advantage, and I think that's how they went about protecting Billy and Peyton, because they're two credible women.
3-on-2, yep.
Exactly, but yeah, no, and Liv would even say later, which we'll get to, it's a numbers game, and the numbers weren't in their favor tonight. But if it was, maybe they could have turned the tide. I do like how they're being booked. I share your concerns. I hope they can keep them strong, because I'm a big fan of both women, and I think we need quality heels. I know Asuka seems like she's undergoing a turn, but you can never have enough heels to me for babyfaces to overcome. I mean, that goes back to even your early writings as a wrestling fan, and I've always agreed with that sentiment. And yeah, this is just a great segment. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we got a big, saying the return is next, and then we go to commercial. When we come back, it's Elias Samson. Elias Samson is back. I am extremely happy about this. I'm guessing more happy than probably 98% of NXT fans, because apparently everyone hates him for some reason. But to me, you guys hate him, and I see that as a success, because he's a heel and he's working each and every one of you, including one of the commentators, Corey Graves, who hates him for literally no reason, even though he's supposed to support his fellow heels.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the thing of beauty. It really is, because like you, I'm all on board with Elias Samson. Great to see him, kind of reintroduce himself in the form of song. The boos were raining heavy. I think he's got a great look. I loved his aggression in his match tonight. I thought that was great. His strikes were just vicious, especially like when he was kneeing the poor guy, like in the head and in the face.
Dude, when he delivers knees, just in general, whether it's, to the outside with the apron and him running up knee, or if it's just in the ring and he just does a jumping knee, Elias's knees are Nakamura-esque.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just devastating. And I gotta say,
I'm sure if the Corey Graves character would hear me say that, he would say that it's freaking blasphemous, because he's such a big fan of the Kinshasa. But truthfully, Samson is kind of in the same league as like Rollins and Nakamura as far as knee strikes go.
And I would agree with you. Hey, the stock of the performer may not be the same, but that doesn't diminish the quality of the move when it's isolated. And he performs it quite well. And I will say this, and they finally addressed it, because I feel like one of my biggest nitpicks of Elias Samson, I never cared for his prior finishers. I can get behind that rolling cutter. I liked it.
Oh, so yes. You know what, though? The one thing I will say, commentary needs to stop calling it a damn neck breaker. It's a cutter.
Right. And hey, to be fair, had I not heard you say out loud cutter, I probably would have said a neck breaker. So I can't act like I'm infallible. I probably would have made the same mistake. But I did hear you when we were watching NXT.
Is when you get your opponents, like, the back of their neck to fall on your arm. But a cutter is when you get, like, their front of their neck and their face to fall on your arm.
Right. And yeah, I mean, that rolling cutter, because I didn't care for his other finishers. I don't even really remember what his other finishers were, honestly. That's the kind of impact they left on me. That rolling cutter, it's distinctive. I'll remember it. It stands out. I like that it's sudden and impactful.
It's like a reverse Crossroads, honestly.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. That's what I've been waiting for. And now, because I know I could be very nitpicky with a lot of performers' packaging. I was even talking about, on Puitov with Braun Strowman. Didn't really care for the reverse choke slam. I love the power slam now, and they even called it Bulldog-esque on commentary. When you do tweaks like that, it just allows me to get more invested in people. And now I'm all in on Elias Samson now that he's cleaned up that one hiccup. I am so ready. Yeah. So great stuff.
And he really does have everything. He can talk, he can work, great look, great music. He's just got everything you look for in a performer, and more importantly, because of the look, in a great heel. He's a really good-looking guy. He's built to the freaking gill. He's in great shape, and he's cocky, and it works for him, and everyone hates him, including the heel commentator. So, yeah, I mean, you could put the title on this guy tomorrow, and it would be the best NXT heel title run since Bo.
Dude, I mean, you just said that, right? But I just really want to fully flesh out what you just said. Can you imagine the fucking heat? And you could do it anywhere. If Elias freaking Samson beat Shinsuke fucking Nakamura for that NXT title, just unbelievable. Like, everybody would want to see that man get taken down. Everybody.
That would be hilarious.
I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. It would be amazing.
can you imagine the salt of just the internet wrestling community, whether it's the Squared Circle subreddit or even our personal Twitters? I can see members of the Scub Squad being like, no, John, why? Why did Shinsuke fall? And I'd be like, guys, heel's gonna heal. You know
what, dude? The funniest thing is, I guarantee you there would be people out there that would be like, he's not even over. And then it's like, oh, really? Because when he comes out, nobody incites a louder reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, and he's kind of making you react right now, Mark. And
the way you set that up and the timing and the delivery of that was impeccable.
I was kind of channeling my inner Jesse Pinkman. You're my free pass, bitch. I love him so much. We have to talk about that later, but more importantly right now, Elias Samson, yeah, dude. I mean, I don't want to commit hyperbole. I'm not trying to do any like fantasy booking splooge. I'm just simply making the point. When you look at how over Nakamura is and the level of just reverence and almost sheer idolatry he has within the wrestling world, people look at him like a god. If Elias Samson were to come in and beat him for the NXT championship when guys like Samoa Joe and others couldn't do it, oh my God, that's fucking perfect. Like, why wouldn't you do that, honestly? Oh my God. Well, I'm not going to get my head so far up that fantasy booking ass, so I'm just going to stop
the thing,
there.
dude, is like, how much bigger of a deal would it be if Hideo beat Elias Samson than if Hideo beat Nakamura?
Right, though? And I know on paper people would be like, well, I mean, you know, Nakamura, he has a higher name brand. Yeah, but he's not a heel. When you're that
people don't
low,
want to see him fail. People want to see him succeed.
Exactly. We still want to see him succeed, which is why I hate that he's fucking NXT champion. I want to see him like knee AJ's face off for the WWE title. You know, but that's
and you're
the thing.
a huge AJ Styles fan, so for you to say that is a big deal.
Oh yeah, because I know how hard Shinsuke's worked, and I know how incredible he is. Not to say that AJ isn't. AJ's wrestling out of his goddamn mind right now, and I'll be saying plenty about him for Survivor Series preview and predictions. But
which is on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Be there or be a mark. But yeah, I mean, you make a great point, right? It's the central rule of wrestling. You should want to see the face triumph and you should want to see the heel fail. It's rudimentary, but that's the allure of it because it freaking works. People could have their
why you shouldn't put two faces against each other in a main event match, god damn it.
And that's my thing. I mean, dude, again, people, when they hear this back, I guarantee you there are going to be people whose eyes bug out of their head, right? But to me, it's like you and I have been saying, especially you, I got to give you credit for that Elias Samson is just such a great heel, elicits such a strong, visceral reaction from people. You're either going to go home happy because Nakamura need his damn face off, or you are just, I mean, to me, honestly, and maybe this is hyperbole to be fair, but sometimes I wonder, is Elias Samson so hated that if he beats somebody like Nakamura, would that be a trash in the ring kind of title win? Because, I mean, they just really hate his ass.
I think so, yeah, I think it would be.
And like, that's what you should want, though.
At Full Sail. If it was at Full Sail, I would be willing to bet that it would be.
Oh, yeah, Full Sail with how smarky they freaking are at times. Oh, yeah, they'd be like, no, I reject this. Shinsuke,
Hashtag not my champion.
Not my champion, yeah. We're gonna protest. We're gonna have the biggest change.org petition ever. You'll see, Elias. You'll see. You've done your last song. Shut up. So yeah, you know, I mean, I want it now. I want Elias Samson to beat Shinsuke Nakamura, and the idea that it's not gonna happen, you know what I call it? A wasted opportunity. That's what I freaking call it. But enough about that. Is there anything else you want to say about the returning Elias Samson?
We can move on. Up next, Dasha Fuentes interviewing the trio of Aliyah, Ember Moon, and Liv Morgan. And they just kind of take turns talking, you know. Aliyah cuts sort of a generic face promo. Ember talks about how Billy and Peyton decided to try and block Liv and Aliyah's paths. Their paths became her path. And then Liv just kind of basically laid down a diss track on Peyton and Billy. And then she said that basically there are three of them. So if Peyton and Billy can find a third, that we should have a match and they could come find us.
Absolutely. And I got to say, for as much as I love Ember Moon, I got to give big ups to Liv Morgan here. She sounded so comfortable delivering that promo. And like you said, she's like a better version of Carmella. I know you've said that a few times. And I think the more time.
She's like a hybrid, like a freaking DBZ fusion of Carmella and Alexa Bliss. Like she looks like Alexa Bliss with like, you know, she's really small and she's got the blonde hair and she's really cute and that kind of stuff. Has sort of an attitude and she talks a lot like Carmella. And she's from Jersey, which is also a Carmella thing. So yeah, it's kind of a hybrid of the two women that got called up to the main roster.
By the way, so I break even, I just want to shout out Corey Graves this time around because he actually had a diss about New Jersey that I wish I could remember, but he's so right. Considering that I used to live in that shithole, if it was swallowed up by a sinkhole, I don't think anybody would miss it. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. So, you know, shout out to you, Corey. New Jersey really is a piece of shit. So now that I've gotten all that heat from an entire state, yeah, this is a fun promo. Loved Liv's work here. Ember, I'm starting to really warm up to her as far as talking goes. I love her in ring. I want to hear her talk more. I want to see her get more comfortable there. But yeah, this is good stuff and nothing more to say about it than that.
All right, brother. Well, we had a lot of, hype packages for a bunch of different matches happening at TakeOver Toronto. We had one for Nakamura Joe. We had one for the tag titles. We had one for the Dusty Classic. We had one for Rude Dillinger, which I thought was amazing. We had one for, all these different, and that's the stuff that we're going to avoid talking about tonight. So the only thing that we have left to talk about is our main event, Andrade Cien Almas versus Cedric Alexander, and boy, was this great.
Ashton, I'm going to reiterate what I said to you before we went live. I want you to take the reins on this to start because you guys, I got to tell you, when me and Ashton were watching NXT together tonight, I heard him like laugh and chuckle to himself in a positive way, almost like I could see him smiling through my screen throughout this main event. You seemed like you had so much fun with this. So, partner, take us through your thought process. What did you think about all this tonight?
What I loved was that all it took was a heel turn, and all of a sudden we've got our own version of Tetsuya Naito in the WWE and NXT. Because Cien Almas here had so many little idiosyncrasies that you could tell were Los Ingobernables to the core, because it's a bunch of stuff that Naito does too. Like it started before the match even started, because before the match started, he gets up on the top turnbuckle and he just sits there chilling, and he kind of does like the hand motion, like tranquilo, like calm down, relax. It's just a match. You're fine. Relax, man. Take a chill pill. And then the bell rings, and the first thing he does is duck out of the freaking ring under the ropes. I mean, he doesn't actually leave the ring, but he like literally ducks out under it. And then, Alexander is trying to get up in his face, and he goes under the ropes again. And he does that 3 times. And then on the third time, as the ref is reprimanding Alexander, he goes up and he grabs him in a headlock real quick. And just the heel work is so good. And the best thing about the Los Ingobernables brand of heel is that they're heels through and through, but they're not afraid to have some slightly more exciting offense. Like, he was going to go for the double knees. There was one moment where he did a sick calf kick to Cedric Alexander coming off the ropes. And he is a pure blood heel, but he's not afraid to work some of the more exciting offense into his repertoire that might pop people, but then when he goes back to being a piece of shit, they forget all about it.
Dude, let me just say first things first. Quality match from both guys. Like, between this, the video packages, and the way the women were presented tonight, this was NXT. This is what I love best about NXT. Because you have two guys, no, they don't have the name brand of like a Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, John Cena, or any of the guys dominating the landscape right now. But they went out and they owned that main event. They're like, we're closing tonight, and we're doing everything we have with the time we're given. And boy, did they ever. On a more Scrutinized note. Andrade looked absolutely reborn in this match. He looked like, to me, he was having the time of his goddamn life being heel. And I loved
And
it.
dude, it's
Yeah.
crazy because we were talking about how you could give Samson the title and he'd be the most hated heel champion since Bo. You could say the same thing about Andrade after this. Like, he's all like, it literally, that's the thing. It took 2 weeks where in the first week he turned heel, and then 2 weeks later he had this heel based match, and immediately I'm thinking this dude is a world title contender as a heel.
Yes. Dude, yes.
And not even as like a heel heat, let's work the marks kind of heel like Samson would be, but like a legit, I could buy him as champion kind of heel. Not like a let's piss off the audience kind of heel, but as a legit, like, oh my God, this guy's amazing, like AJ Styles type heel.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And dude, I mean, that's my thing, man. I look at this and, I was so excited about Andrade coming to the WWE. I talked endlessly, during the buildup about the vignettes and how much I loved the vignettes. I loved the vibe of them and everything. And then he debuted, and it's not that I didn't care anymore, but my heart sank a little bit because I'm like, no, the tone of the vignettes clearly screams heel. Why is he a babyface? Why? And now that he's heel, we are reaping the benefits immediately. Because the promos, I like that he has.
And honestly, it feels like Alexa Bliss, doesn't it? Because Alexa Bliss, when she debuted as a babyface, we were like kind of confused, like, oh, well, she kind of acts like a face, or she kind of acts like a heel, and the face stuff feels kind of disingenuous, and her moveset kind of lends itself more to being a heel, and all this other stuff. She turns heel and instantly becomes one of the most interesting female characters in the product. Same exact thing can be said for Cien Almas. Like, he's always been good, and you can always tell he's talented, but he just wasn't really that interesting as a face. And the face, mannerisms and stuff came off as kind of disingenuous and that kind of, and really you could even say the same thing about the moveset, because like clinging to the ropes and posing is a heelish thing to do. Like, that's not something that is going to get you cheered. That's something that's going to make people think you're a douchebag. So yeah, like even the moveset lending itself to being more of a heel thing is another thing that Bliss had in common. And again, instantly he turns heel and he's one of the most interesting characters on the product. I love it.
And can I say, a main event can be served all the better when everybody's alignments are exactly what they need to be, because the converse is also true. Cedric is an amazing babyface, and I've loved his booking. I mean, when you look at his story of the crowd wanting him to be signed, and then he comes to NXT, he gets like a win here or there, but when he really starts getting his hands in the dirt, Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, eats the pin in his tournament match, then his partner beats the crap out of him, then he tries to get revenge on said partner that stabbed him in the back, and he loses that match. That is perfect babyface booking, made all the better by Cedric's story.
I feel like the ultimate babyface litmus test is when the heel has the babyface in some kind of rest hold and the crowd starts chanting really loudly for the face. Like, if that happens, you've got something.
Right.
And that happened here. There was an instance where Cien had Cedric grounded in like a side headlock or something like that. Or no, it was the Fujiwara armbar that he used. And you could hear the crowd, Cedric. And then there was even a freaking slow clap. There was an actual slow clap in this match for Cedric. And it was just your basic clap. And then it worked his way up to faster clap. But like the fact that the crowd is that invested in really getting behind Cedric tells you that he is over the right way. And that's what I want to really emphasize, is the right way, because that's one kind of over. And then you have like the Enzo and Cass kind of over, where they're over because they say the same thing every week and the crowd can participate, not necessarily because the crowd wants them to succeed, just because the crowd likes seeing them every week. Those are two different kinds of over, and Cedric Alexander is the right kind of over. He's the Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of over. He's the Daniel Bryan kind of over.
Yes,
that's the kind of over you want to be.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Daniel Bryan, because I was even getting ready to say, like, he's in that same vein. Like, when Daniel Bryan got fired for choking Justin Roberts, one of the first big moments was when a pay-per-view, and I think it was, I forget what the name of the pay-per-view was, but John Cena just got beaten down by the Nexus, and they're trying to create the sympathetic portrait of going off there with John Cena beaten down. And what do you hear when you go off there? Daniel Bryan chants. He returns at SummerSlam, huge fucking pop. Cedric is a similar story. Again, loses the Cruiserweight Classic. Please sign Cedric chants, just ringing throughout the arena. Why Cedric is going to work, especially with booking like this, where he loses more than he wins and he maintains that sympathy. The fans feel like Cedric's NXT rise, like his whole experience, they are a product of that because they got behind him. Those are the best kinds of baby faces when you have that inextricable link with the audience. Now, sometimes that can be abused, admittedly, and I do worry about some of the smarkier crowds, but Cedric has that connection, and I think he could ride it all the way to main event status on NXT. And honestly, and I'll say this too, not to jump the gun, because I mean, we'll get more in depth about that on Friday at 8. But if the Cruiserweight division would hypothetically go to SmackDown Live, I see SmackDown Live as a place where the Cruiserweights could be more than Cruiserweights, which is especially beneficial to men like Cedric, because then I could see him maybe going after the IC title or doing this or doing that. Like, he is a babyface that should not be confined at all. And main events like this prove exactly why, because he tears the house down with Andrade, and the crowd was into it every step of the way. You were into it every step of the way. I was into it every step of the way, because they're two caliber performers. I love this.
Yeah, man, this was great. So just an awesome showing from both performers, an awesome performance all around. And I don't really have anything else to add. I just really loved this main event.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. With that said, let's move right along. High spots and low shots. Despite all my praise, I got to say my low shot is Cedric Alexander, because he had one of the most personal matches on this show tonight of the three. I mean, his partner stabbed him in the back. He's been waiting to get his hands on him, and when he finally does, he comes up short. So rough night for Cedric, but I know he'll be back in the game soon enough. But for now, he is my low shot. So who is your low shot?
Yeah, I think I'm going to just kind of keep it simple and say my low shot is Peyton Royce, because it looked like she was about to lose.
Right.
And then she technically did lose via DQ.
Yeah, makes all the sense in the world to me. Right along my high spot, I'm going to keep it in that same vein. Andrade Cien Almas. Because, like I said,
can we share this one?
Yes, I'd be insulted if we didn't.
I'll even take as like a technicality. Like, if you hold me to a fire, I'll take Elias Samson as my high spot because it's nice to see him back. But Cien was just so good tonight. Like, both of these guys, it's great to see them both kind of get like revived, because Samson's back from injury and Cien is back from the dead, metaphorically, as far as, living in babyface land. He might as well have been dead at that point.
Right. No, without a doubt. And I was even going to say again, like, he looked refreshed tonight. He looked reborn tonight. And he looked like he was having fun with everything he did. Not saying, yeah, he looked so into it, dude. Not saying he wasn't having fun as a babyface, but to me, that was more, okay, I know what pops the crowd. I'll do some cool lucha stuff, whatever. But as a heel, every pose he did, every time he backed up with a smirk, he was just straight up enjoying it. And those are the heels I love, when they're in the babyface's head and they say, fuck you, you ain't doing shit to me. And I know it. I can smile in your damn face, and all you can do is stand there and take it. And that was Andrade tonight. I fucking love it. I fucking love heels, man. Oh my God.
I just love great performers who are passionate about their craft. It just so happens that is more often than not heels.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I love heels, dude. You make an excellent point. When you see people reveling in their art, when you see people so immersed in it, like, like, this is everything to them right now. And that's Andrade. Like, he was probably like, oh, thank fuck. Now I get to show everybody what I can really do. And boy, did he ever. I'll tell you, man, if they had kept him on that babyface trajectory, there were times I would worry. I'm not going to lie to you. There were times I'd worry. Oh, if I go to the WWE website, would I see that we've come to terms on the release of Andrade Cien Almas? I'm so glad they turned him heel, because now I think it's going to be so mutually beneficial to everybody. And yeah, tonight was definitely a big step in that direction. So co-shared high spot, Andrade Cien Almas. With that said, do you have any concluding remarks about tonight's NXT?
I'm just waiting, man. One of these days, we're going to get Los Ingobernables de Florida.
Yes. I eagerly anticipate that day, but in the
Or
present,
maybe they'll just go. Maybe they'll just go across the country, like the whole U.S., and they'll just call it Los Ingobernables de Estados Unidos or whatever it is.
yeah, maybe. I eagerly
You
anticipate.
know what? I know what it would be. Los Ingobernables de Norteamericano. There you go.
There you go. But while I anticipate that day, in the present, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my coordinating commentary. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes this video gets on your way out, the more likely it is to be the top YouTube search result for NXT reviews. And when you're number one at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So be sure to leave a like. You guys already know all the TWitWoW based media to check out, thanks to my cohort and commentaries, amazing backgrounds. But there are two things that I want to single out for plugs. First and foremost, Q&A. We do Q&A the last Friday of every month. It's the 17th today. It's after midnight. So the 25th will be the day we do Q&A, I believe, number 5 at this point. And so you have got now 8 days to submit questions. Still a modest window to get any questions you have. I've already gotten some questions, through Twitter. I know Jarveris, he submitted 2 questions to me personally on Facebook. So you guys are definitely getting involved, which I love. But you've still got a little window if you want to get, more involved. Everybody has up to 5 questions they can use. You could submit them Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, your best bets. And if you're going to visit the Facebook page, by the way, be sure to leave a like, get some interaction going on that page while you visit. But everybody gets 5 questions. You don't have to use up all 5. You may only have 1 question, but just know you have 5 that you can use, and you can divvy them up any way you want. All 5 to me, all 5 to Ashen, all 5 to both. Whichever way you slice it, whatever to your heart's content. Second thing I want to plug, we now have a Patreon reward for donors. You can pay for TWitWoW to do a specific review of your choosing, a live reactions of your choosing, or both, a review and live reactions. The only thing we will not do is hardcore, kind of bloodfest. Think CCW. We won't do kind of that hardcore porn kind of stuff, in terms of wrestling and all that stuff. But anything else is up for grabs. Be sure to go on our Patreon, see the pay scale for yourself, see what you like.
I was just going to say, to be fair, we will do that. It's just going to cost double.
Exactly. It is. That's right. It is going to cost double. So, just look it through. Go on the Patreon, look at the reward system, how it all breaks down, and go check it out for yourself. We actually do, if you want to get an idea of what you're paying for, we have a Patreon-based review on the channel. We recently did a review of Survivor Series 2002, courtesy of one of our amazing donors. So if you want to get an idea, what exactly am I paying for? Go to that review with a lot of laughs, a lot of insight, a lot of analysis. That's what you're paying for. So check it out and get a feel for it. And if you want to donate, the Patreon is there. All right, guys, well, let me break it down for you. Rest of the week is going to be insane. We have got tomorrow, TakeOver Toronto, preview and predictions. It's coming at 8 p.m. our time for all of you UK viewers to be able to participate. Then Friday, same time, only this time it's going to be Survivor Series, preview and predictions. Saturday, TakeOver Toronto, live reactions, gonna be incredible. And then Sunday, Survivor Series, live reactions, followed by Survivor Series.
You know what, John?
review.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think that on Saturday we're going to witness the match of the year.
Do you? Interesting. You know what, though? Don't tell me what you think that match is going to be. You could save that for preview and predictions because I'm curious. But yeah.
I think our audience will know what I'm thinking.
I think they know what I'm thinking, too, because I think if I'm thinking the match you're thinking, I even explicitly said it was going to be, at the very least, a contender. But yeah, Survivor Series live reaction Sunday, and then Survivor Series review that same night. And yeah, we're actually looking forward to all this content, guys. So that should be a nice change of pace. I don't really feel like, acquainting myself with an oven or anything with WWE's content. It seems like it's going to be a really fun week for the rest of the week. So be sure to tune in again tomorrow. TakeOver Toronto preview predictions. Friday, Survivor Series preview and predictions. Saturday, live reactions for TakeOver Toronto. Sunday, Survivor Series live reactions and review. Guys, it is stacked. Your inbox is going to take a beating, but it's all worth it for the best content around. We hope you join us for all that content and then some. But until then, tune in and peace out.